It is hour number 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat. Hours being a little bit generous. We've only got a few minutes to go, and then we're going to have to wrap things up. We've got Notre Dame men's basketball taking on Idaho at Purcell Pavilion tonight, right here on the Notre Dame Radio Network with Tony Simeone. So that is coming up. The pregame starts at 6:30 Eastern time. News of the day, breaking. We talked about this at the start of the show. Michigan has fired head coach Sharon Moore for what did they specifically call it? Was it an illicit affair? For an affair, basically for a relationship with a staffer is the way it was termed. And then Jesse just texted me something, and I'm not even going to touch this right now. There's some follow-up reporting, but Sharon Moore is out at Michigan, and we'll just leave it at that right now. Okay, we've only got a little bit of time, and Salty in the chat says, how much did Brett Yormark clown himself by railing against egregious Pete Bavacqua, but hurt by Notre Dame declining a bowl game with BYU, and can he spell egregious? It's a very good question. Salty can spell egregious, and he did spell it for us there. So what Salty is referring to is the commissioner of the Big 12, Brett Yormark, decided to lob a volley at Notre Dame. He was speaking at a conference this week, and I'll just go ahead and play the comment. Here's what he had to say about Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bavacqua's response to the Fighting Irish being left out of the college football playoff.
Say this, and I'm a little outspoken about it. I don't like how Notre Dame's reacted to it.
So
okay, I think Pete's his behavior has been egregious. It's been egregious going after Jim Phillips when they saved Notre Dame during COVID. We all knew, and it was very transparent. Hunter was very transparent about it. The chair, that as Notre Dame and Miami got closer together, head-to-head would be a factor. Okay, BYU lost. They became closer together. Head-to-head made a difference in that decision. So I think he is totally out of bounds in his approach, and if he was in the room, I'd tell him the same thing.
Okay, so there's Brett Yormark, commissioner of the Big 12, talking about Pete Bavacqua. Egregious, he says. I've got a lot to say about this. So, Jesse, your response is what?
I have a lot to say, too. I'm actually writing down a couple things just so I don't forget. Yeah. First and foremost, like, who is this guy? You know, like, who are you to get up in front of a microphone and question another man's and another university's decision? Like, no one asked you. No one,
when you had a microphone in front of your face, Brett Yormark, at the Big 12, at the Arizona State game a couple of weeks ago, he took an unsolicited shot across the bow at Notre Dame and Notre Dame's playoff resume at that point. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, so it's just he decides now that he needs to join about, and I just think it's completely unprofessional. To get up there, like you were saying, in that game, in this press conference, to get up there and talk about a team that you have no relations with, frankly, at the end of the day. Notre Dame doesn't play Big 12 teams. And again, you are the commissioner of the Big 12. You just have no business. It is nothing for you to get up there and talk about, to speak about another man's and university's actions. And then, I know we'll hit on this, but he's just point blank wrong. At least have your facts straight about who saved who during COVID. And last of all, you're up there saying, oh, well, BYU lost, so obviously Miami would flip-flop. You're not even advocating for BYU, a team that should have, I think, stayed in front of Miami and gotten, like, they were more deserving of that at-large bid than Miami was. They have 2 losses to the number 4 team in the country. Miami can't even play in their conference championship and has 2 mid losses on their schedule. Oh, and by the way, BYU has an extra win because they finished a win ahead in the regular season. So it's just like, why are you up there bending the knee to Miami in the ACC when you, the Big 12 commissioner, got on the field during that Arizona State game and said that Texas Tech and BYU deserve to be in the college football playoff? And now all of a sudden Miami's just, oh, I don't care that Miami jumped because that means they got to flip with Notre Dame.
Right. So one, if Pete Bavacqua's actions are egregious, Brett Yormark's response is just erroneous, is what it is. And we're going to get into that whole who saved college football in 2020. But the resounding reply to Notre Dame being mad about the ACC's campaign against Notre Dame on social media has been, well, Notre Dame is not in the ACC. So the ACC has every right to campaign for their team. And we've talked about this over the last couple of days. Okay, technically, truth. Notre Dame football is not, quote unquote, in the ACC. Notre Dame is obviously independent, but everyone outside of Notre Dame just continues to miss the fact that Notre Dame and the ACC have a contractual relationship with each other. Well, so while Notre Dame might not be technically in the ACC, Notre Dame, obviously, because of the agreement that they have with the ACC, Notre Dame is contracted to play 5 ACC football opponents every year. And because of that, the ACC's grant of rights TV contract with ESPN is worth more money. Like, I don't know how many times people have to say that. Notre Dame being part of that grant of rights gives that contract more value. The ACC network exists because of Notre Dame's affiliation with the ACC, not to mention the fact that obviously that all the other sports, with the exception of hockey, are in the ACC. So they are intertwined. So I would say, think of it like this, like for people who can't separate this whole thing. Bobby Hensley is on this show once or twice a week on this radio station, WSBT, and on the Irish Breakdown platforms. But Bobby also works for another media company here in South Bend. So if Bobby were to go on the air at that other media company and trash either WSBT or Irish Breakdown or anyone who works for either of those two groups, Bobby would not be allowed to come on this show anymore. There would be repercussions for what happens. That's how it works. He's allowed to, say whatever he wants, but words and actions have consequences, especially when you're supposed to be partners. So you can't just say, well, I did this over here, so it doesn't matter over here. I'm sorry, but they're all intertwined. I don't understand what it is that makes this so hard for people, to comprehend. Just like, what's one forbidden topic for coaches in sports? Officiating. As a coach, you cannot publicly criticize the officials who are working your games. What happens if you do? You are fined for that. They might not be walking around in the hallways at the Christmas parties of the league offices, but those officials are still part of your league, and coaches are not allowed to criticize them. There are repercussions. There are consequences for doing that. Now, there's some factual inaccuracies, but we're starting to run a little bit short of time. I don't know if Brett Yormark knows this, but the internet exists. And on that internet, there's a thing called Google. And because of Google, there are a lot of receipts for everything. So, for people like Brett Yormark and all these ACC yahoos who want to try to say the ACC saved Notre Dame, well, you might want to actually go back and use your Google instead of this revisionist history that you're using right now. Let's go back to August 2020, which of course was pandemic year, right? You may remember in August of 2020, there was a lot of uncertainty about the college football season and what was going to happen because of the pandemic. And there was talk about maybe even moving the college football season to the spring. And the Big Ten, who was then led by Kevin Warren, made the decision to cancel its season, and other conferences were looking like they were going to follow that same path, including the ACC among those conferences. So here's a clip from the Pat McAfee show. This happened. This is as things are happening, August of 2020. This is Pat McAfee on his show talking about a timeline of events that were transpiring in that moment. So have a listen.
So big updates when it comes to the Big Ten vote for postponing the football season from fall to spring. An entire Sports Illustrated article has come out that the Big Ten, after they made their vote, they thought that it was going to be so popular and they were going to look like such heroes that was going to be, we care about the health and safety more so than football. They thought that's how it was going to go. They also thought that the ACC was going to follow immediately behind them in postponing the season. Turns out Notre Dame called the ACC and said, hey, we want to play. We'll join the ACC, maybe make some magic down the road. The ACC says, oh, well, let's put the brakes on there. Little Fred Flintstone feet down squirrel. We are not going to cancel our season then. Let's let the Big Ten and Pac-12 look like stooges. And it is alleged now from this person's inside source at Sports Illustrated that if the vote was to happen today for the Big Ten to postpone the season, they would not do it. It would not be the case. So now they're just kind of sitting there, waffling in their decision-making, trying to see if they could potentially move a season instead of being next year or next spring into late fall. I mean, there is a lot of panic happening in the Big Ten. I believe there's a lot of disarray, and it all revolves around the fact that the players, the parents, the coaches, and some athletic directors still want to play, and they know that if the SEC plays, the ACC plays, and the Big 12 plays, boy, recruiting is going to be tough for the next couple of years. But Sports Illustrated is now knocking and saying, hey, listen, they want to play, and they are not happy, and if they were to go back and do it again, they would not. They thought the ACC was going to follow suit immediately after them. Turns out Notre Dame came in and said, no, don't do that. So now more people hate Notre Dame. The ACC turned their back, I guess, on what Big Ten thought was the deal. Now they're playing football. Big Ten, Pac-12 are out of it.
And again, all you've got to do, you can scroll back. It's on Pat McAfee's Twitter account. Scroll back 5 years. It's there. Again, that is from August of 2020. In the moment, late August, Pat McAfee is talking about it. Notre Dame ended up opening its season about 2 weeks later, September 12th, against Duke. Ohio State and the Big Ten didn't play until late October. Pac-12 didn't play until November. And by the way, Jim Phillips, not the commissioner of the ACC at that time. Jim Swafford was. Brett Yormark, not the commissioner of the Big 12 at that time. Big Brett trying to act like he knows what was going on, like Jim Phillips was somehow involved in this. He was not. Brett Yormark was still working at Rock Nation at that point in his career. So who saved who, Jesse?
Notre Dame saved all of college football that season.
Short answer, but yes. I just don't know where these people are coming up with this. All this revisionist stuff about the ACC saved Notre Dame. Again, like Notre Dame is widely credited, or at least then was given a lot of credit for saving college football, because you might remember this little ditty from ESPN's College Game Day, narrated by Gene Wojciechowski.
Dear Notre Dame, on behalf of college football, we wanted to say thank you. Yes, you've won 11 national championships, had 7 Heisman winners, and own the best win percentage in college football history. You are the program we love or loathe. There's never been an in-between. But this year is different because the world and college football is different. After 131 seasons of football independence, you joined a conference. And by doing so, you might have been the difference in the ACC playing football this fall. Without you in the ACC, who knows what would have happened? In other words, a win-win-win. For Notre Dame, the ACC, and college football. So thank you for making the leap of faith. Here's hoping it was a jump worth taking. Signed, the other 76.
All right. So again, I would ask who saved who. I think it's pretty obvious, and everyone in that moment knows that it was obvious. There was a lot more gratitude for Notre Dame, I think, back then, but somehow that is all worn off, and rubes like Brett Yormark want to try to twist this thing around and try to gaslight you into believing that somehow it's the other way around. But again, the guy wasn't even working in college football at that time, so I'm not sure exactly where he comes up with any of it.
Yeah, I think this is the most frustrating part about this whole Notre Dame situation over the last 5 days is now Notre Dame has to fend off all these idiotic takes from, people ranging across the networks to Big 12 commissioners to, your neighbors or maybe someone you work out with. Now everyone has a gripe with Notre Dame over stuff that has already been solved. And it's just like, you just don't know what you're talking about. But now everyone feels the need to try to just take their shots. And that's, to me, the most annoying part. And I feel like, to top it off, the cherry on top is Notre Dame did a lot of legwork last season. I think they got back into kind of a positive mindset across, just fans of football. Like no one hated Notre Dame last year. Like, oh, Marcus Freeman, good coach. Oh, team was good, played hard, was in a national championship. And now it's just like, everyone's back to hating Notre Dame again.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Where did I just see the comment? There it is. Irish Chi-Town says, Greg said at the time, I'm sure he's saying Greg Sankey at the time, that SEC could have found games for Notre Dame. And I'm sure they could have, especially because like the SEC was going to play no matter what. The SEC was going to play.
Well, that's the SEC, baby.
Yeah. Like it was, and again, like that was something in the moment that we knew. But when the Big Ten shut down, that was like the first big decision. Like Kevin Warren hadn't been on the job that long. First big decision he had to make. He shut down, like not ready to. They had already announced they were shutting down their season. And then Notre Dame and the ACC got together, and that's where, like, you know, they put it on life support, and college football was definitely saved. And it was because of Notre Dame making that move. Don't let anyone tell you differently. All right, Jesse, we're going to have to wrap it up with that. A lot of great questions as always in the mailbag. Anything you wanted to say before we wrap it up real quick?
No, go Irish.
All right, let's go. We got Notre Dame basketball on the way for you. That is coming up next. No show tomorrow because I'll have a Notre Dame women's basketball game. And we will talk to you Friday. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.